What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, we're going to be talking about the current banner heroes, Eda as well as Violet, and whether or not you should pull for them. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server. Link down in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. As always, I like to start these videos with a summary of where we are right now in terms of what's coming in the future, as well as a summary on the heroes before we actually go more in depth into the kits, so you can start thinking about what they can potentially do in Epic 7, so you can start thinking, oh, that sounds pretty cool, right? So starting off, overall, next month is going to be a GG collab rerun. If you are a new player, you need to have enough to pity at least the Dizzy, at minimum, and more in case they do decide to add another unit, or in case you want someone like Baiken who makes your life a lot easier in Banshee 13. She's one of the best Banshee one-shot units, right? It's what most people use. So for sure, make sure you have enough to pity if you don't already have Dizzy. She's amazing for PvE and for PvP, right? She's just great. So make sure you have for that. Besides that, though, as far as the summaries for each of the units, Eda is a new hero, so there's not a lot known about her, but pretty much she looks like she's going to be a control mage that can also function in a control cleave. So primarily her main role is going to be utility, although she has a little bit of a kick since she does have a little bit of attack on her set. You can potentially use her in Asimec Hunt, although the S1 does apply on healable, which means you have to be very careful and make sure you don't stack too many debuffs on the boss. But it definitely does work since she is a mage that can also attack AoE quite often. As far as Violet, he has fallen off significantly from the meta. There's not as much water floating around as there used to be. There's not like the Diani SSB bunch of water teams that used to roll around everywhere, and like with Dizzy that used to dominate before her. So Violet has definitely not seen as much play, but he's still a solid hero. He's not necessarily bad. He's just, it's not often that he's used. He remains more as a counter pick, but still is a fun unit to play around with. So with that out of the way, let's start looking at the journal. One thing to point about Violet is also the fact that you can actually use him in lobby, and he has very high friendship with a lot of heroes, so that part's kind of nice. And you can also use him for Banshee if you don't have a Banshee 13 team one shot. But all right, let's start with starting to look at Eda, who's going to be the new water control mage that I'm very excited to have. So as far as Eda, her stats are actually really good. I'm actually really impressed by her stats. They have everything you could want. She has attack to go offensively. This is very high attack stat, right? It's nothing to laugh at. For a mage, her HP is actually above average. Most mages are actually sub 5,000. She actually has over 5,000, which is actually really, really nice. So HP, really good. Very solid HP. The speed is a little bit on the slow side, and this is the main reason people are ripping on her and say she's not that great is because of the speed, but I think it's not that terrible. Like, yes, it's slow. You're slower than things like Basar. You're the same speed as Pleiades, but you're not like a Destina. That's 88 speed. That's an actual turtle, right? So while you may not get first turn guarantee, you can definitely get up there and outspeed some tank teams if you give her dedicated speed gear. As far as the defense, again, also very nice, right? She'll definitely be living. So very, very good defense stat. As far as crit rate, 27. This is really good because she actually needs 100% crit rate. So you need to get her to 100% crit rate. So it's nice that they're helping you there. Same thing with effectiveness. They're helping you out on the effectiveness stat because she does need some effectiveness to land her debuffs. While there is a debate on how much effectiveness, that is going to depend on you and what you're planning to use her. Are you trying to stun units like a Lilius, like an Empress Lilius, then you're going to need well over 150. If not, it's up for debate, right? As far as her imprint, it is going to be effectiveness, also aiding in that stat, which basically makes it so you have to have very little investment into effectiveness. If you do manage to pull dupes, you won't have to invest into effectiveness almost at all, which is, again, that's cool. That's nice. But now let's look at the kit. Let's look at the skills. And why am I actually really excited? First, the model is really cool. I like the fact that she doesn't grab the staff. I think that is really cool. I like the fact that she's a mage that just like holds it in the air and she's like, oh yeah, let me just levitate my staff. That's really cool. I think that's very cool. I like it. I don't know. I really like her design. I think she looks great. But the staff, very cool. As far as the skills, S1 is nothing crazy. It's probably her worst skill. It's just an unhealable. I mean, what were you expecting? What's nice is you don't have to muller this skill, right? Because why would you need unhealable unless you're trying to do some PvE content that requires it? You don't really need the unhealable. So, nice. The S1, really cool. Really fits into her personality that she's scared when she like kicks back. Has a lot of personality to her, which I actually really like. But nothing crazy, nothing to talk about there. The S2, this is arguably my favorite skill and the reason why I want to build her. Yes, I am still building Mortalix and I want to build her as soon as possible because she looks so great. But I am building more first since I promised you guys that I've been Mort. So she'll be priority next. And my resources are quite low, so that's going to take me some time, sadly. But as far as the S2, this is the reason why I want to build her, is the potential that this S2 has because she's a mage and has access to things like Abyssal Crown. Basically just Abyssal Crown. This S2 is an AoE attack that's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is ridiculous. That soul burn reduces by 2. You can essentially use this skill every turn if you soul burn. Think about that. For 10 souls, you can use an AoE skill that pushes the opponent back and potentially stuns with the Abyssal Crown. The animation is actually quite cool on it. It just like drops some icicles on them, which I think is pretty neat, right? I like it. I think it looks cool. It's just plop. I don't know. I'm a fan of the S2. But the fact that it's spammable is the reason why I like it so much. You can consistently push the opponent back as long as you crit. So if they have Earth, you have the chance to miss. So that's a problem. If you do bring her against Earth, she's going to be missing, which means she's not going to be critting, which means you're not going to be getting as much CR push back for those units. But for the most part, it's 15 to 30. There's no reason you should not be critting. You should have 100% on her. So 15 to 30 CR percent pushback, that's annoying. And with Abyssal Crown potential to stun, you can potentially push a unit back by 30% and stun them. That is so much advantage. And the spell debuffs. It's just great. Or buffs, my bad, not debuffs. The spell buffs. Correction. The spells buffs on the opponent. This means that even if they start with immunity, you can just start with an S2, push the strip the buffs, push them back, and potentially get a stun with Abyssal Crown. That's amazing. That gives you so much advantage. Gives you turn 1 priority against tank teams. A lot of utility. It's great. I love this S2. I'm shocked it's an S2 and not an S3 because that's how good the effect was when I first read this. Now, as far as the S2, it is going to be pretty unique as well, and one of the reasons why cleave players that also like to play control in the cleaves may be looking at this skill. It's another AoE attack that has an 85% chance to stun the opponent once it's mulling board out. That is really good, right? 85%, that's the same thing that A-Type 1 has to stun. She doesn't apply the slow, which is good and bad since slow does make units a lot slower, of course, as the name suggests, but also because with the new Emma Lilibet, since you're not stacking as many debuffs, she actually doesn't get as countered by Emma Lilibet since you can control when you apply just the stuns, and even if you get a full team of stuns, you're easily able to follow up. The other thing is that her skill also allows for follow-up with the every time you crit, you get 5%. Again, if there's Earth, you're not going to be getting as much CR push for yourself, but you should be getting at least a little bit, and there's no reason that this skill should not be critting. It's weird to me because it feels like that you'll be opening with skill 2 more often than with skill 3. Since unless you build her very slow and the opponent doesn't have immunity, then I could see you using the S3. And we'll talk about that in the overall summary. But that's I mean, it's pretty cool. I actually really like it. The stun is nice. It allows for setup with that CR pushing and allows you to take advantage, especially if you're building here fast against a bruiser team. You can use this skill to guarantee you turn 1 and punish the no buffs, or combo it with a Bazaar and set up a nasty stun unable to be buffed turn 1. Similar to what you would do with a Taiwei. That's the idea that you should be getting, the potential with this skill. So now, holistically, where can you use her? I mentioned before, you could potentially use her in Asimekon 13. The only thing is because her S1 does have a debuff, you have to be very careful when you go to Asimekon, because if you go to the Asimekon and you use this S1 and you apply more than 2 debuffs, it's gonna hurt you very bad. So kind of have to watch out for that, but can be used, and she does have a lot of AoE skills and does have access to Lela Violin since she's a mage. So you can actually do a user for Asimekon, and you don't even really need to put Lela Violin since he does have this S2, right? So pretty nice, right? Wouldn't be a terrible choice for Asimek 13. As far as PvP, she's primarily going to be in a control cleave or a control style team, in an aggressive control team. So for the cleave team, this S3, since she does have high base attack, she can do decent damage. Her ratios aren't terrible. They're not like insane either, but they're not bad. So this skill can actually set up your slower units so that you don't get cut in as easily and potentially stun the opponent after you go with like an Athletica, right? So you can do Athletica and then go in with an S3 with her and potentially stun some of the enemy's targets. That's cool. That's really good. That's solid. That's all fine and dandy. The other thing is that she also has access to this S2 that can also push them back and strip immunity, kind of doing a pseudo team push-up, and it's pretty nice. So I like it overall for a control cleave, but for control, what you would see is more for the support and advantage portion, maybe giving her a lot more speed and a lot more attack, and making it so she can combo off with other units such as Bazaar, right? Because if you have a unit like Bazaar, you push back, you strip buffs, you can go in and set up this S3. If they have units, say like a Ray or something like that, you can hold this S2, you can hold the S2 until they set up the immunity and do it. So you can also use her for a slow control, which is what I'm going to be using. It's kind of at the 200 to 220 speed range on immunity set. The idea behind this is that you allow the enemy team to go first. So say they have a Last Rider Crawl. Their Last Rider Crawl would go before you, but then you'd be able to retaliate with an S2 and strip that immunity and set up for the rest of your team and potentially stun with an Abyssal Crown. That's where I'm going to be using her, more for a slow bruiser type playstyle, especially since she does have pretty nice defensive stats. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing with her. But overall, how would I build her? Speed and immunity. That's the only real build I really see on her, is speed and immunity. I don't see a lot of other sets working, and I think that immunity set is going to be important because she's slow, and we have to accept that. That's her slowest stat, so having immunity does make it so you aren't as threatened by certain opening debuffs. That's Eda. So overall, I am very excited for her. I think she's going to be good. A lot of people will say she's not great. As far as whether or not you should pull, she is very particular to a playstyle. So if you're an early game player and you don't even have a single control unit built, she's not something you should be looking at, right? Because it's something that is not going to help you a lot right now if you don't have control build, or if you don't have the units to do a good control team, like units like Bazaar that can push back and set up into an Eda S3 potentially, and make it so units like Emma Lilibet won't be able to cut in as easily, since if you have Bazaar go first, push them back, have Eda go, stun them, and push your team up, you're essentially getting a pseudo 50% CR push. So that's why you need to have a lot of control units. So if you don't have a lot of control units or cleave units to play around with Eda, I don't think I'd recommend her necessarily, but I still think if it's something that you're interested in, then by all means, she looks great. She looks like she has potential in the future to be really, really good, especially if you have units like Specimen Says. I will definitely be using her with my Specimen Says and trying her out with some combos, since her S3 does make it so they cannot cut in. That's the big one. The S3 makes it so the enemy can't cut in. I can't tell you guys how many times I've gotten cut in with the Specimen Says combo, and it makes me super sad when it does happen. So the fact that you can get cut in is amazing. I like her a lot. I think she has a lot of potential. But a lot of people would say otherwise. I would say pull if you like her, and if you have control, I think she'll be pretty solid for that. Not a unit that you'll see like everywhere necessarily, especially with the G perk being so popular, but definitely a unit that will not be bad. But now let's move on to a unit like Violet. So Violet looks quite snazzy. He looks really cool, right? He does have, I forgot what sign he does, but he has the sign where he has really good attack, really good HP, really good speed, really good crit rate, and then it all goes down the drain with the defense. So the defense is going to be Violet's Achilles heel. He is a thief that has terrible defense. So a lot of times if they hit him, if they sneeze on him, he probably dies. So that's a big thing. Even though he does have that high base HP, it is kind of tough for him to survive. His imprint is going to be more attack, so he can actually get quite high attack on his kit, which is, again, really, really nice. But let's actually look at the kit and see why he's such a good counter towards blue teams, right? Why is he so good towards blue teams? So the biggest thing is going to be the S2. But first, the S1, nothing crazy. It's just an attack break. The soul burn is also here, which is not great. The soul burn is like, it's not something you're going to be soul burning, but it can come in clutch to lower the attack and make it harder for them to kill you, especially since he's going to be countering a lot with the S2, as we'll see in a second. So S2 is going to be the cookie cutter portion of this guy's kit. Essentially, you dispel 2 debuffs, right, which is, again, pretty nice, and then recover some health and give yourself an extra turn. When this skill is off cooldown, you get 35% evasion, and if you evade, you counterattack. So paired with Moonlight Dreamblade, you'll have 55% dodge rate. Why is he a good counter to water? Since he's earth, water will always miss on him once he uses S2. The second he uses this S2, he is 100% going to dodge water units. That's great. That's awesome, right? That's very cool, right? Because then he can do S1s every time they do a skill, punish them, do some good work, right? Very, very annoying S2. So very, very cool. Now let's see what the focus that he's been building up, that he gets from using the S1, and that he gets from using the that he gets from evading, right? So he gets focus from evading and from using his S1. It's going to go to his S3, that it's an all damage skill. All damage. That's all it does, it's damage. But the ratios are actually really good, especially when you have 5 stacks, because it does more damage, the more focus you consume. The skill looks amazing. To this day, it's still one of my favorite S3s in this game. And with the new skin, it actually looks like... I bought the skin, y'all. I bought the skin. I have a Violet, maxed out, fully Mulagorad, fully awakened, level 60. I bought the skin. I'm going to give him gear, and I'm going to try it out. Maybe one of these streams, so make sure you're subbed for the streams. So I'll try him out one of these days, because the S3 is still amazing, and the damage is actually really good. It can actually kill Seasides quite easily, and I've seen it kill Seasides very often. It does a ton of damage. And if it's a 5 focus, you do reset the cooldown, so it lets you do the skill again. You do need to have 5 stacks for this to have one-shot potential, but it is quite a strong skill. So as far as to where you would use him, he actually does have pretty good Labyrinth presence. His conversations with people are amazing for some odd reason. So if you're someone that wants to optimize normal Labyrinth, he's really good for that. He's good for slow Banshee 13, and he works quite well at slow Banshee 13. Besides that, not as many uses as he used to. So the biggest weakness that he has is the fact that his evasion is only 35%. And when you add Moonlight Dreamblade, 55%. When you start thinking of units like Mursa and Rylet that are sitting at 70%, that extra 15% is quite significant. He gets hit a lot more, especially with things like Symbol of Unity. Dropping it at 35%, you're getting hit a lot, which makes it that he can't always be a soloing monster. The other thing is the low base stats on the defense makes it hard to build good damage while also maintaining his defensive stats. As far as to builds, the most conventional one is going to be Lifesteal, although there are some speed builds out there and some crit damage builds. Here's an example of a pretty spicy Violet. As you can see, this person tried to get them as tanky as possible with as much attack as possible. Kind of like a Ryla build, trying to survive for as long as possible, to be able to counter as much as possible, to be able to do as much damage, and to ultimately win you the fight. Kind of a bruiser, right? Very bruiser style build. The immunity is there so you can't get stunned before you get your evasion, since you only have Moonlight Dreamer protecting you. There's a lot of things in this meta that can actually stun you turn 1. So it's important that you have immunity on him as well. Although, it's not the end of the world since he does cleanse. It's not the end of the world if you decide to go crit rate set, but just know that there's units that can hit you turn 1, such as A Tywins, other control teams, General Pergasus. There's a lot of things, Stenace. There's a lot of units that can actually hit you turn 1, so you want to make sure you're able to set up that S2. But that is it for both of them. Now let's go over to do some summons for Eda, which I'm actually really excited for, because I told you guys, I'm really excited for Eda. So let's actually go do some summons for Eda, who I actually love the design, dude. I love Eda's design so much. I think she has so much potential. I don't want to overhype her because I know there's like the GG collab and everything that's coming so soon. And everyone's just drained from the triple banner that we recently just got, right? So it's hard to say she's a must pull, but she does have tons of potential. Ooh, nice. Two 4-star artifacts. That's really nice, actually. I like the 4-star artifacts because I need a lot of powder. But she's definitely going to be a unit that will definitely see some play. Although counter is getting more. There are more counters to control now than there were before, especially with DJ Bazaar. Although she doesn't do too terrible against DJ Bazaar. Wow, we are getting a lot of 4-star artifacts. That's kind of cool, actually. I haven't seen that in a long. We're getting really good shiny rates, so I can't complain. I really did need the powder, so that's nice. I got excited. When the book starts like zoning in, I always get like super excited. But we're getting really good rates. We're getting over 2 per... I spoke too soon. Alright, let's get a couple more for my girl Eda. If you're wondering why I'm going so hard for her, is because I already got all the units for the GG collab. So I'm not super worried about it. Dude, the books are flipping so fast. I actually need more Clarissas. We're getting super good shiny rates though, which is great. Oh, it's a new artifact. That's nice though. I didn't talk about the artifact, so let me give that chance to talk about the artifact now. Kind of cool, and I think has potential for the future. So if you don't know what it does, it increases the crit rate of all your allies and effectiveness of the caster. It's a very nice stat boost, right? Makes sense for her, but the fact that it's competing with the Abyssal Crown is tough. It is nice for some ultra damage team compositions. That would be very interesting to see. Like those ultra damage team compositions that could potentially use that artifact for the extra crit rate. I already think I have my T-Serin maxed out. Alright. Oh, we got another one. Nice. You're not guaranteed the artifacts, so like it's always nice to get more extra copies of it. There goes our good luck. We're 40 away. Let's just get as close as possible to pity. Let's just blow through our stacks, bro. I am ready to pity for Eda. I came prepared for this. Or no, I didn't, because I'm still gonna be missing 10. But I will be finishing off the pity soon. Wow, we are getting so much lightning, dude. We're actually getting ridiculous lightning today. That's the thing. Besides like the 2 that we didn't get anything from, that was ridiculous lightning rates. That was actually ridiculous lightning rates, dude. Like that was something else. I don't think, I don't have enough to finish the summons, but I do have enough for one final lightning summon for MLs. Let's see if the rates want to bless me today. Since we didn't get Eda on video, but we will try to get her offline. Oh, no lightning. I hate when there's no lightning, dude. The no lightning is just heartbreaking. It just feels like, it's like, feels bad. But Smilegate wants me to go all in, bro. So I will definitely be finishing off the summons for Eda. I like her. I think she's cool. I want to finish her off. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope y'all enjoyed. Good luck on your summons. Hopefully they were better than mine. But that's all I got for you guys this time. And I will see y'all next time. Peace.